This is David Dean Gender here. As you know, the rugby league season is due to take place very soon, this coming Sunday, especially as the London Broncos will be out, for their new rugby league season. What should be hopefully a decent crowd at Plough Lane, or otherwise known as the Terry Red Record Stadium. I am here with the head coach of the London Broncos in Jason Demetriou. Pleasure talking to you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, David. It's good to be on the show. Looking forward to sharing my thoughts and up in the season starting this weekend.
And let's talk about the new season because you got the new season coming up. Like with any new season, how excited are you in terms of getting the season underway?
Yeah, really excited. Obviously, it's a short preseason this year. There's a World Cup, and the season started early with the Challenge Cup coming being brought forward as well. So preseason's been short, but it's been pretty good. Having the experience in the international stage over the last couple of years has probably helped me prepare the boys in that shortened, pre-season. But there's a real excitement around the place, real excitement around the city as well for London Broncos. I know early signs, ticket sales are going really well, and hopefully that continues and we get a bumper crowd on Sunday.
And obviously, you speak about looking to get a bumper crowd on Sunday. This is going to be your first time now. You're going to be, being head coach, in this league and for this club as well. How much of a privilege is it to be able to, be a head coach of this franchise or of this club, I should say?
Yeah, it is. It's a great way of describing it. Actually, it's a privilege. I sat down with the owners about 3 months ago, and they shared their vision. And once you heard their vision for the club and what they want to do in the city, couldn't wait to be part of it. And that's continued since we've got here. Their investment, their enthusiasm, and passion for what they believe London Broncos can become is exciting to be part of. And the players are feeling that now. The new kits arriving, playing kit. It's all starting to get real now. And like I said, the early signs, our ticket sales are going really well. And I know the boys are looking forward to getting out to the Cherry Record Stadium on Saturday, and we've got players that have come from all over the world. We've got players from Papua New Guinea, Australia. We've got players that have played for Tonga, players that have come down from Yorkshire, and players that have been here for a while. So it's a great work that they've done to get connected pretty quickly, and nothing connects you more than being out in the field together. So, like I said, we're really excited about Sunday.
And how much of a challenge is it to be able to get these players ready in a short period of time? Because you've got, I mentioned, so many new players from all over, the country and even the world. How do you manage to sort of deal with that influx and be able to get them ready for the season?
Yeah, it was a challenge early on. We've got players coming from, probably 10 different clubs. They've had different coaches, different systems, and then trying to pull that together quickly is a challenge. But we had some good conversations early on about the fact that we need to have one voice and one mindset in terms of what we're trying to pull together here in a short amount of time and build our base. And once we've done that, then we can start bringing people's experiences and things like that to the table. But at the moment, the players probably from that conversation have been really good. They've just knuckled down on their role, owning their own individual roles, and that's starting to come together collectively now as a team. And like I said to them, the team we are in on January 18 won't be the team we'll be at the back end of the year. That's for sure. We'll grow as the season goes in the early months, and our footy will continue to grow and get better when players get more comfortable, not just playing over here, but living over here and getting a feel for the different, getting through the cold, then getting into the spring, and then getting into the glorious summer. So, you get all seasons in a rugby league season over here, and it's what makes it exciting. And like I said before, the fact that we get to represent London is a huge bonus. It's an amazing city. Sometimes when you're from a certain area, you probably don't appreciate how great it is. But my dad grew up in Palmer's Green, so it's always been something that interests me about coming and living in London and experience what he did growing up. So yeah, looking forward to delving into the city as well.
And you spoke about, your connections to London, things like that, really. I gotta ask you though, what is your first impressions of London? How you been finding London life so far?
Yeah, it's been great. We're living in Staines and training in Sunbury, so we're a bit out of the city, but we've been able to get on the train and get in the city and experience different parts of it. And been out to Clapham and different places around the city. So I know the players are looking forward to that. And I think what the great thing about London is you could probably go out every weekend all year and you still only see a touch of it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to really spending time here. I've come down a few times when I was in the north and spent weekends and things like that down in London, but always wanted to live here for that reason, to get out and experience, different pockets of London are very different culturally and they offer different experiences. So I'm looking forward to getting around different places and then obviously taking the Broncos and the London Broncos name in and around different areas in London as well and exposing people to rugby league in the greater parts of the city as well.
What has been your favorite part of London so far, or the best part of London so far, or area of London that you like?
Um, yeah, I went out to Richmond the other day and I'm a big Ted Lasso fan. So, yeah, I had lunch in the pub out there and walking the cobble streets. And like I spent 13 years in England. I love the history of the place, but particularly London. So getting into the city and going to the Churchill War Rooms and in and around the beautiful structures that the city has to offer, but also delving into the history. We've done a bit of that as a team as well to understand what makes London people who they are. And there's some great history lessons in there, in and around their resilience and their ability to stand up for what they believe in. And that's some characteristics we want to adopt and take forward as a club and as a team.
And did you, and speaking of Ted Lasso, obviously, Richmond FC, is there like a football team that you sort of gonna adopt as well? Obviously, you speak about football a little bit, or are you gonna keep that to
Yeah,
yourself?
I love the Premier League. I probably haven't followed as much as I did when I was over here, but I'm a Liverpool fan, to be honest. I was. My wife's family are from Liverpool, so when
Okay.
we moved over, we spent a lot of time in Liverpool. All our Christmases were spent there, so it was easy to follow. Harry Kuehl was there at the time, so there's a bit of Aussie connection as well there. So I'm not going to jump ship, but I do love getting in and around some of those London teams around Tottenham's new stadium and things like that. So looking forward to getting that and looking forward to getting to the tennis. It was probably one thing that I didn't get to do when I was over here as a player, and now we're in and around that Wimbledon area. Yeah, really looking forward to the summer when the tennis comes around.
Absolutely, and obviously Liverpool is a great city, and a team, not too far from Liverpool in St. Helens as well. Obviously, they've been, they're one of the top teams in the Super League, really.
Yeah.
Do you sort of take inspiration from teams like, let's say, like Hull KR, teams like St. Helens, in terms of the standards that they've set, and looking to implement that in your team?
Yeah, for sure. And that was one of the things that excited me about the job is, Darren Lockyer and his past as an athlete and Grant in terms of his experience in setting up businesses is they want this club to be elite, and we have to have aspirations to be elite. So of course we're going to look into what clubs have done that have made themselves successful last year. I'm good friends with Willie Peters, who's the coach at Hull KR, and followed his journey closely over the last few years, having worked with him as an assistant at South as well. And and you look at got teams like Wakefield and Leah in recent years who've almost rebranded and reinvented themselves and brought the supporters along for the journey. But yeah, there's no doubt we want to be successful in the championship this year. But Super League is our goal and our aim. And when we get there, we don't want to just be making up the numbers either. We want to be chasing trophies and putting London Rugby League on the map.
And speaking of, the ambitions, obviously you touched on a little bit in terms of the ambitions of the club. Is that what attracted you to this job in terms of the ambitions that the owners have for this club specifically and for London as well?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in London in terms of what London can offer Super League and the growth of the game. I think, in the north, there's a bit of a perception that we don't have a lot of crowd, they don't have big numbers, so it's not worth having them in. And got teams like Toulouse and York, who's a new market now, who's come in, and the Catalan Dragons, who've been hamstrung by the way they're funded in Super League over the years. Is I think we need to get away from that mindset, and I think we need to look at the growth of the game, and the biggest thing that generates revenue for rugby league is TV and pay TV in particular. So, we need to and the reason that is because rugby league's such a great TV product. It's one of the best games in the world to watch on TV. You're right close to the action. You see everything happening in and around the ruck. So we need to grow that TV audience, and the way we do that is expanding the game. And people look at the NRL, but the NRL has continued to expand for the last 30 years. They've always looked to take the game to new markets. And when we do that here, we make life hard for the teams who come in. We need to bring teams in and we need to support them to grow the game because ultimately, in the long term, that's going to give us sustainability and it's going to generate revenue for all the clubs.
Absolutely. And you touched on there in terms of what you're going to do for London and London having potential. It's interesting because there's this sort of north and south divide because I'm sure you probably noticed yourself, up north, rugby
Yeah.
league is the popular the two codes, whereas rugby union, is more popular around south, especially around London, because you've
Mm.
got, rugby union teams like Saracens and Harlequins and you've got teams that have in that code that really established themselves in London. Why do you think London has so much potential in terms of growing a code of rugby that perhaps people might not be familiar with or not, or people might perceive as, not as popular as the other code of rugby?
Yeah, I just think, for us, it's about having stability about who we are as a club and then setting up our foundations and our pathways structures that are going to grow over the long term. We haven't had a pathways program for 4 years, I don't think. And prior to that, we've probably got 5 or 6 players that have directly come from the program that are playing Super League and have gone on to represent their country as well. So, there's a guy called Kai Pearce-Paul who's over in Australia playing in the NRL now. There's been Tony Clubb, Sargentson, McCarthy, Scarsbrook. All these guys have had elite level careers up north. But we want to create a club that people want to stay in the south, and instead of using it as a platform to make it in the Super League and then go up north, we want this club to be strong and to be powerful. And the beauty about London is, as you mentioned, there is rugby here, and there's enough people and enough support in and around London for rugby league to exist on its own and still be able to attract opportunities for players. And I think that's the beauty of being in London. There's so much opportunity for young people around, and we want to make sure that young people that are keen on playing rugby, either code that want to get in and be part of what the Broncos are trying to do. And the way we do that is to make the club an exciting prospect. And that's our challenge over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And you see, speak about the Pathways program, like what is the ambitions of the club in terms of, bringing the community involved? Because, rugby, either rugby union or rugby league, you know,
Mm.
a lot of young people don't really, I don't know, see a career in rugby league, or they have these preconceptions about rugby and they're thinking, oh, maybe it's not that kind of sport for me or this and that. What is the club doing to make rugby league especially accessible to young people?
Yeah, I think that's something that'll grow over the next 6 to 8 months, 10 months. As we, obviously there's been a huge takeover, and the main priority to start with was to get the team assembled and on the field and ready to play this weekend. But the bigger picture is about establishing ourselves in London as a club and a team that provides opportunities for young people in London through sport. And we want to get into the schools. We want to grow our academy program. We've got some thoughts in and around how we do that. And instead of establishing ourselves just in one place, maybe look at setting up development hubs in different regions in London. So we're exposing young people to those opportunities. And then, we want people in London, yeah, as you mentioned before, there is that, especially, sports built on rivalry, and those rivalries and those tribalisms, they make sport exciting. And there's no doubt that, we want to embrace that. We want people to want to play for London because we want to go up north and we want to show them that they're not the best at everything, that we can compete at that level and we can come up and win trophies. So, and that's our challenge. We want people in the south to buy into that and to get excited about letting everybody know up north, we're here to stay. We're not here just for a couple of years this time. We're here to stay, and we're coming after your trophies.
And speaking of, London and rugby league, we just had the rugby league Ashes, the first one
Mm.
in over 2 decades. You know, what do you think that has done for the popular for in terms of growing rugby league in London? Because obviously, I was there for the launch event, and there was quite a lot of press interest in terms of, the rugby league Ashes. And do you think, that has opened perhaps new audiences to the sport, and perhaps does that make people want to support London Broncos because of that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously a huge Australian and New Zealand demographic in London itself, a huge population. I think someone said about 200,000. in there, and there's a lot of South Africans as well in terms of attracting players to people to the game of rugby and rugby league. So there's people there that we can tap into, but we want to grow the game in the South as well. We want young Londoners to grow up and want to play rugby league, and that's a journey, and that's going to take time. But by what we've done now with the investment and the club, people in and around the city and the places I've been, when they see it, they're really curious to see what's happening at the Broncos. And as you said, the off the back of the Ashes and Darren being around and the profile that raised, there was some good publicity for the club in that time as well, and that's continued to grow. And I think there's a real curiosity at the moment about the new look London Broncos. And as I said to the players, the Broncos is a famous name in world sport, but London is even bigger name. And there's not many sporting teams in the city that are called London. We get to represent the whole city, and we're pretty excited about that. But we need to, people of the city to understand that we're here for them. We want them to be part of this journey as well.
And speaking of, the new season, obviously the new season taking place this Sunday, I want to talk a bit more about, the challenge in terms of being able to coach in England for the first time. Obviously, the style play in rugby league here will be different to, let's say, in NRL and in other countries as well. What will be like one of the biggest challenges that your team are going to have to face for this coming season?
In the cold to start the season. Um, yeah, like, I think the weather early in the year poses challenges. I mean, I spent 13 years over here, so I've got a pretty good understanding of the conditions early in the season. The game's very different at the start of the season. Once you get through Easter and the weather starts warming up, it starts becoming a lot more expansive and a lot drier. So we need to be aware of that early. We need to have an understanding of the things that are going to get us success early in the season, and a lot of that's around hard work. It's about being physical in defence. It's harder to move the ball because of the conditions, but when we play at Cherry Red Stadium, that's a beautiful stadium. It's a great pitch, and it's going to allow us to play some expansive footy. And we want to be playing a brand of footy that attracts people to want to watch us play, and ultimately that's what we're here to get people to want to come and watch London Broncos play footy. And although early in the season, as I said before, we're still building who we are and what we're going to be about, but early signs from what I've seen at training is we've got some exciting players as well that I'm sure will light it up from first round. But particularly once we get around that Easter time, you'll see the best of us start to really emerge.
And obviously, speaking of new signings, so many new signings. What are some of the new signings that you're looking forward to see? Obviously, you're coaching already, that you think fans are going to look forward to seeing on the pitch.
Yeah, I think our captain, who we just named yesterday, and we went out to the media, was Regan Campbell Gillard. He comes over as a current NRL front rower. He's a big presence, a big man, but he's played NRL at the highest level. He's played for his country. He's played state of origin. So he understands what it takes to play at any level in rugby league, and what he's brought to the club has been first class. The way he's raised the bar in terms of how we train and how physical we are in training as well has been so refreshing for the boys, and the players have bought into that. They've really got in behind him, and they're seeing that there's a standard that we're setting now, and we talk about raising the floor. We want the difference between our best and our worst performance to be minimal as much as we can. But guys like a couple of Papua New Guinea boys that have come over, and Gyro Voro, who's an electric 5'8", long hair. They call him the PNG Luai over in Papua New Guinea. So he's a young talent, but he's lightning quick. He's one of these people that when he touches the ball, the crowd sits on the edge of their seat because things happen in and around him. And Maria, our fullback, is the same. He's lightning quick. Stereotypical Papua New Guineans have been powerhouse forwards who carry off the back fence and are very physical, but these guys they're subtly different. They're quick. They're very skillful. Finley Glare's come over as well as a 9, but there's been some. I've been really impressed with some of the players that have been here or that we've recruited from up north as well. Jack Croft, who's come in as a back rower, has been outstanding. I've been really impressed with players that have come from up north or that have been here. Liam Tyndall, who's come from Super League, who's but really impressed me in on the wing for us, and Jack Croft, who's come down from Wakefield, one of my old clubs, and the way he's grown over the preseason, I'm looking forward to him establishing himself and being kind of player that can be at the club for a long time, as well as got some strong leadership qualities about him as well. So there's a lot of players that have excited me through the preseason, and we had an in-house trial on Sunday because our game got cancelled and we haven't had a hit out. So I said to the players afterwards, if that's how physical we've been with each other, then I'm looking forward to the next Sunday because it's and it's made it hard to pick a team. Picking a 17 is going to be really difficult early in the year, and but that's what you want as a coach.
And obviously, you spoke about, your 13 years here playing. You played here in the UK, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
What has been some of the experiences apart from the cold and the cold weather that you're going to be looking to bring in as coach?
I think getting in and around, the city and enjoying the city as well for a lot of players who come over here, it's about the experience as well, not just about what goes on the footy field. It's about, bringing families together and partners and bringing them along the ride as well. I'm very much a family man and, I coach in that way. I like, the partners and the kids to feel like they're part of this journey as well. And we'll look to establish that family culture in and around the place, which has already been there as well. But obviously, with new players and new partners and new kids, nothing better than on game day when you see the players, kids getting around in their kit and supporting the club and the pride that comes with that as a parent as well. So looking forward to growing that kind of culture in and around the club. But ultimately, as a coach, I want the players to embrace what the UK brings in terms of rugby league. When you get out on the field, the noise and the crowd and the atmosphere, it's second to none over here. And the English supporters are loud, they're vocal. A lot of players will end up having their own songs and chants that go with each individual. So that's an experience they wouldn't have had yet, and it's what makes playing over here magical.
Oh, that's brilliant. And obviously, with Sunday fast approaching, and for anybody that's looking to learn about rugby league or that's looking to come to, the Cherry Red Record Stadium for the first time, why do you believe, that they should come not only to watch rugby league, but to also come and watch your team, London Broncos?
'Cause it's a new era. There's a revolution going on down here in the south, and the owners are excited about chasing glory. They want the club to be at the top, and there's some real ambition about it. But you'll see that on the field. There's some exciting players to come and watch, and if you haven't watched rugby league but you're from London, then get on the journey because you'll enjoy it. It'll be a ride that not only we're a part of, we want you to be part of it as well. And that's one big thing. The people who come down to the games will embrace it. They'll get first-hand access to players, and they'll feel part of everything that we're doing.
And would you perhaps convince them that rugby league is better than rugby union?
Look, they just have to come down and watch. The game will do it itself. It's yeah, I'm a big believer that rugby league's the best sport in the world, and anybody who comes to a game never walks away disappointed because it's just constant action. You're just the game is flowing all the time, and rugby can be quite stop start. And look, I'm not. It's not about bagging one sport. I think there's a place for both sports, but I do believe if you come down that you'll get hooked on the game, and especially like I said before, people want to be part of the story. They want to be part of the journey, and there's an exciting journey to be part of. And we're looking forward to getting as many Londoners down to the Cherry Record Stadium and embracing what we're trying to do.
And for anybody that's looking to go and watch London Broncos, they're going to be playing this coming Sunday, at the Cherry Red Record Stadium. I believe it's a 3 p.m. kickoff for their first
Yep.
game of the season. We wish you, obviously, Jason, the very best, not only for Sunday, but for this season. And hopefully, we can see your team winning some silverware.
Well, that's the plan. It's a long journey to come, but we're looking forward to starting it this Sunday and appreciate you having me on, David. Thanks, mate.